Hi there, and welcome back to our coffee break chats. Today, I'm here with Linda Pereira and Tess, two of the fantastic speakers who will be appearing online for IBTM Wired in June. And we're going to be chatting about their session at the show, Mind the Gap, Women in Leadership. So welcome, Tess and Linda. Thanks for joining me, and thank you for coming to our coffee break chat.
Hello, and thank you for inviting us.
No problem at all. So how about we start off light? I'm really interested in your session. I've had a sneak peek at the synopsis and all the exciting things coming up. And just for people who don't know too much, how about you tell us a little bit about what sort of things you'll be discussing on day 3 of IBTM Wired?
My job actually is the simpler one. Tess has the hardest role to play because I'm moderating the session. And this is a topic that is very close to my own heart because I have been working with accelerating women and battling for gender parity and equal opportunities for over 35 years. And so this is something that is close to my heart. So, it's often quite amusing to think that when you bring this issue up, everyone presumes that, oh, we shouldn't be talking about this today. You know, it's just like diversity. It's a norm. Well, I'm sorry, guys, it's not. We've got a long way to go. And according to statistics, we're waiting 100 years more before we get gender parity. Well, I'm not waiting. I'm fighting for it right now. So that's what the tone of the session is going to be. No, we're sick of waiting. We want it now. So, and we deserve it as well. So I think that for Tess, her job is going to be more involved in discussing the role of women in our industry, perhaps, and the other two colleagues, because we have two other amazing colleagues on the panel.
Yeah, 2 other people joining as well.
Which Tess might like to talk about because she's really good. She's really good at this.
So, all right, if I may, I'd like to drop their names already.
Of course, yes,
the one lady is from Rwanda, originally Tanzania, but based in Rwanda now. Her name is Doris Parsons. Powerhouse, one of the first leading PCOs in East Africa. I'm totally excited to have her on our panel and to have been working with her and just seeing the opportunities that are out there. The other lady is from Zambia, an absolute trailblazer. She is fighting her way open to, put mice business in that part of the world on the map. So totally stoked to be with them. And there are, of course, so many more stories. So, if you don't limit us to an hour, we'll carry on for 3.
Absolutely.
Amazing. And so, in terms of what you'll be discussing, obviously it's focusing on women and leadership, but there are so many different facets to that, so many different things that can influence that. And I know that you mentioned that COVID has obviously played, and the pandemic has obviously played a role in this, in the synopsis. And I was just wondering whether you'd be able to tell me a bit more about that.
Absolutely. COVID has brought us back to 1950. Okay, we've gone backwards and we're all at home holding the baby in one arm and taking the children to school and rushing home and doing 8 days of working and having to feed and take care, etc., without having any consideration from society in general that, oh my God, this is really a serious thing. It has also increased things that I wasn't even going to go there, but we have to think about this. Domestic violence has increased at home. Divorces have increased amazingly in the stats, but worse than that is the mental health of women and the equal opportunities, because families were not structured to have 4 computers, all the internet, everything, and women have carried the burden, and they've carried the burden because society is structured for women to carry the burden. It's not that I don't think it's an evil plot by the male. It's that society, whether we like it or not, is still structured for women to carry the burden of the whole of the management of the home. And this has made women have to take holidays instead of continuing to work, take time off. When the companies have been given a choice of which partner takes over the childcare, it's been the sensitivity has been that it should be the woman. So in fact, we've gone backwards. And women also in business, women leaders, because women run the vast majority of small companies, small businesses, shops, cafes, etc. And with those businesses closed, there were no support across Europe, for example, and in Africa, none at all, for women who had to go home and close their doors. This is amazingly tragic financially, psychologically, and family. So we have to take that into consideration. The impact this has had on women who lead and are founders of small and micro companies. This is especially in our industry.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely.
Tess, you might have some considerations on that, because women, there are a lot of women leading companies in our sector, in PCOs, incentive houses, all these things, and they've just gone from 100 to 0, you know, and without any consideration for that they have to continue supporting families. And especially as in Africa, there's a very high percentage of single mothers who work as well.
Well, I'd first like to go back to what you started with, Linda, and I think it's exceptionally important, and that is for ourselves to recognize that women are born strong. We
Yes.
are meant to bear children. It reminds me of that movie with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Pregnant men, picture that. But what has been really endearing is, and I really, my heart has been bleeding for some dads, and I've seen it in my family and my circle of friends and colleagues, with men having to stay at home and raise children and homeschooling. And then, you know, I think some took a step back and were like, wow, what does my wife or my girlfriend go through while we do this? And I think it was a bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah.
But, you know, not being discredit to our men folk at all, because we have some amazing support within our family and friends and colleagues. You know, it's very interesting, Linda, as you say, in the African perspective, women leadership has really been coming to the fore in recent times. And, you know, I'm not going to say it's only Africa, there are other parts of the world as well, but from a rural point of view, you know, the men would do the you know, menial jobs at home, you know, fix the roof and the this and the that. The woman would be tending the fields. The woman would walk for 14 or 15 kilometers with a 25-liter can of water on the head and carry it back home. Point in case, I recently had a study about, you know, greening aspects, where a company did a CSR project in Mozambique and created a well for the villagers because the women had to walk so far every day to go and fetch water. Well, they got this well, and now suddenly the men were unhappy because now the women were sitting around at home all day doing nothing because they didn't have to go and fetch water. Just a fun point there. But if you look at how far leadership in Africa for ladies have come,
yes.
And I'm going to pick on my golden child country at the moment, and that's Rwanda. Did you know, ... that Rwanda's parliament has more than 62% ladies?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
How amazing is that?
I did not know that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I've got some quite good surprises for the session. I'm not telling you here for the session, which is I've been working really hard getting stats out of everyone and information, and I'm going to actually surprise, and I'm going to surprise everyone who shows up. I'm going to surprise the Europeans who think they're ahead. They're not. Okay, I'm going to surprise the Americans who think they're ahead. They're not. Okay, I'm going to give you some information that you'll really be surprised at how women against all odds, you know, in Africa, against all odds, how far women have come and how they've become the backbone of a country and of what we call the new industries like ours. You know, the mice sector is a relatively sort of baby industry, and how they've led this industry and how they've moved it forward and how they've understood it in a way that is even better than the we understood it, because we went through the whole process of learning. And now I'm looking at the women that I work with in Africa, and how they just went straight to the end of the line, and they know more. They're way ahead of us. You know, their eyes are on the horizon. So it's going to be a really interesting panel, and it will have a lot of lessons for everyone, because I've really made sure that we've done our homework and have chosen 3 great women for our panel. I mean, Tess is wonderful. Let me just share a story about Tess, if she'll allow me. When COVID started, Tess and I started having conversations, you know, about, you know, what's going on in our industry and whatever. And Tess, like me, has ants in her pants. Okay, we can't sit still. We have to be, we don't like sitting on the bus. We like driving the bus or pushing the bus if it breaks down. Okay. And so Tess was challenging me. Now, there's me kind of worried about everyday things, and Tess was challenging me. How can we look at this? I mean, this is impacting our industry, will be impacting poverty and unemployment levels, and we are the drivers. And now, and I'm sitting in my home feeling terribly guilty that I'm not doing something about this. And she's got me on leadership panels and on global panels and on panels thinking about, and this is Tess. Tess is inspirational. Tess is a doer. Tess is kind of she doesn't just lead, she makes sure that she pulls you along with her, so she leads by example. So this is what our panel is going to be about what we as women bring to the table when we lead by example.
Absolutely.
Linda, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
It's the truth.
Maybe we should give Laura a shot.
Laura, no, this is the way we are. We just chat
I'm
away.
loving learning more about all of this and about you guys. I mean, through the pandemic and everything, this is the first time I'm meeting a lot of people with these interviews, and it's been wonderful to hear about everyone and what you're all working on and how it's all going and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's been brilliant. And you know, I think your session is a really valuable one for the industry, and I think it's definitely one that I'm going to check into if I can. If I've got the time over the event, I'm going to be sitting in there having a listen. But I suppose my question with it is, like, what do you think, if you could tell people one thing about your session, like one thing that they could go and do before the session or after the session that could help with this, you know, what would you suggest? What would you say? Hey, if you want to do something about this, what would you do?
Do you want to take this first, Tess, so that I don't dominate the conversation, because I tend to talk all the time?
Well,
excellent.
No, absolutely. You know, looking specifically at women, and as Linda mentioned very importantly, that's a mental health issue. And what I found, it's too easy for a person to shrink back and think, oh my gosh, it's hopeless. I see no way out of this. One of the things that I found that is most empowering is to pick up the phone and call somebody you know that's in the same space. Have a conversation. Especially, as Linda said, our girls out there, there's a lot of us single, no support, children to have to feed quite often. How am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to get them through school? How am I going to pay my car at the end of the month? All of those worries. So I think reach out and talk to someone, because you'll find that, you know, you might not be in the same boat, but you certainly are in the same storm. And that mental support really can mean a lot to somebody else, even yourself.
That's fantastic.
And from my side, one of the things that I want to get out of this session, and I'm going to pull it out of my colleagues because I know they've got the know-how to share, is some keys that we can implement in our daily lives and in our work that will empower us, because there is a fabulous Chinese saying, which I'm always quoting, which is women hold up half of the sky. And that is absolutely true. And if you think of the full meaning of that, is that we have the capacity, we now have the laws, we now have the recognition, and it's about overcoming our fear sometimes. We become our own hurdle, okay, to overcome. And it's about coming out of your mental space into a community. And I find that having a community of women, and Tess is among that community, has kept me on track and focusing forward. And that is really, really important. And we sometimes forget that we are part of a gigantic, powerful community. So I hope that people come to the session and understand that that against all odds in other regions of the world, women are achieving things. And if they can, with the conditions that they have to do it, then we can anywhere.
And if I can jump in, you know, I'd like to return the compliment to Linda. And, you know, we do draw on each other for inspiration. And, you know, one of the things that I've found most inspiring is, excuse me, you know, in spite of the fact that we're all zoomed out, I can safely say that I have made a lot of new friends this past year. And I'm going to use our site global president as an example. Our executive director started a weekly call shortly after the COVID hit and all the lockdown started. And out of the group, I can say I probably personally met 3 of them. And today I've got 30 new bosom buddies. Well, not new anymore, it's a year down the line, but there's just been this, you know, leaning on people and trusting people, that mutual support. And I, again, within that, I have seen women taking the lead, and we are just natural born leaders. You know, some of us stronger than others, but that's also been a great inspiration to me.
Absolutely. And I definitely think that empathy that everyone has, like you said, different boats, same storm. We're all going through a similar situation together. And I think, and I don't want to push this solely on women, but I think women do have that capacity to be empathetic about situations and to build on that and connect with that. And yeah, and I think a lot of people have drawn on communities this year, but definitely that's a good thing to look forward to building them more, and hopefully in person.
Yeah, very much so. But I would also, and I'll do this during the session, you know, give recognition to some of the men who empower us ladies to actually take the lead. And there's a couple of stories in there. So yeah, we're not alone out there. We do have some wonderful men who recognize our strengths and our abilities.
Yes, absolutely. I'll also be quoting some examples as well. So that will be good.
Well, that sounds like a lot to look forward to then. I mean, yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for this lovely little chat to hear more about your session. I think it will inspire a lot of people to come and check it out. But yeah, so just to reiterate, Linda and Tess's session, along with the 2 other panelists as well, will be taking place on day 3 of IBTM Wired, which will be focusing on the Middle East and Africa. So yeah, we'd love to see you all there, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us. Okay, thank you. See you soon.
Yes, definitely. Bye.
Bye.